Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying time is here. That's right. We're talking about Nosferatu on Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from Wiesberg, Germany. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we're dedicated to celebrating the least discussed component of any horror film, the characters. And of course, we're going to unpack all the goriest details of 2024's So Long Ago, wasn't it? Nosferatu, in the hopes that a German resident's untimely and just the beginning of the jokes we might make at their expense. And as always, there's only one person I trust. If I ask them to pray the vampire away, they might. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
You know, you put a very heavy German accent on Wiesberg. And mention, you know, that the characters are German.
Yeah.
I think that we need to put German in Dick Fingers because, you know, like I say, like Bill Skarsgård is, I don't want to say he's trying too much accent because his accent is great, but he's doing a little too much accent, and everybody else doing not enough accent.
They're all doing accent that if anyone else tried, it would seem conflicting.
Yeah, they're all just doing the generic. You know, we're European, so we speak an English accent.
Right. Yes, they have like a mid-Atlantic off everyone else, whereas Bill Skarsgård is doing Nandor if he was on Barbiturates.
Yeah, he's like a cold bowl of borscht.
Yeah, he is a real cold bowl of borscht in this movie. Now, usually with a movie this new, we like to do a little non-spoiler up front, just so in case if you haven't had a chance to see it, it's been a busy holiday season or whatnot, you haven't had a chance to wander out and see this particular film, you can still get our impressions of it before we go into a deeper spoiler territory. And so right off the bat, Gina, what are your first top level impressions of Robert Edgar's Nosferatu?
It's, you know, as people who follow me online will know, I've been basically just counting down the days until this movie came out.
Yeah,
you know, from the minute it was released till like I managed to see it the day after Christmas. And yeah, no, it lived up to my expectations and hopes very nicely. Didn't expect the dong. I did not expect.
No one expects the dong.
No,
baby.
I did not expect full frontal nudity on Vampire, but that was, you know, a you know, I don't want to say it was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, but
you know, it's a nice little zag there. It's like, oh, hey, he's naked in that coffin. Well, you think he's got like you know all these like crumbling once fine silk robes and gowns and capes. Nope, just sleeping the au natural.
Well, that's the thing. When you're sleeping with a box full of rats, Gina, you don't want anything between you and the rats and the maggots. You're sleeping that way on purpose to get that exfoliating sensation.
Yeah, I mean, his skin is not very good.
he's had better skin days.
Yeah, he really could use some abrasive cleanser. Followed by a soothing lotion,
or possibly, and I know this is controversial for many vampires, but direct sunlight to the taint might help him a lot. I
hear that Tucker Carlson is a big proponent of taint tanning for good health.
He's never steered us wrong before. Why would he now? I figured as much that this would be, your thing. I think there are a few filmmakers that we can argue are absolutely currently you could say are Gina's vibe. And yes. Eggers would be high up on that.
Oh list. Yeah, he's not done a single thing that I didn't absolutely love. Yeah. Like, when I have I would still put The Lighthouse at the top of my list for my favorite movies of his, but because Lighthouse is so singularly weird, and I just like it, and audacious in its weirdness that I can't help but love it. I couldn't tell you at all what happens in it or what any of it means, but it's a dark, weird vibe, but also like at the same time, there was a thread, I believe, in the Flophouse when someone said that they've never watched any of Robert Eggers' movies because they appear to be, quote, too self-serious.
Oh, boy.
And
what an awakening that person is.
Yeah, I'm like, watch The Lighthouse and tell me how self-serious you think Robert Eggers is.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've been in this dude's camp ever since a baby disappeared in The Witch, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we talked about this on chat where, Robert Eggers' attitude very much fuck them kids.
Like if
you have a child in your cast, and if there's a child in a Robert Eggers movie, there is little to no chance that child is going to survive to the end of the movie.
Ain't nobody safe. He really goes for it. And I feel like he, in particular, he's a consummate director in terms of what he brings to the table is a visual banquet. He remains one of our best modern visualists, in my opinion. Yeah. And here he's working with cinematographer, and forgive me, sir, I'm going to just butcher your name, Jaron Blanchett. They create this incredible use of scope where the blacks are truly black. They're impenetrable. And the lights are your only guiding force in any particular scene. There is this moment in which Nicholas Hoult is walking because his horses abandoned him. And he's walking along this winter road to get to the Count's.
That scene literally made me gasp.
It's so incredible, and it's the reason why you go see something like this on a big screen. Listen, it's going to look great on your TV, but he is bringing punch to the screen. There's so much going on here in terms of what he brings. It's so beautiful. And for some, there's going to be like a style over substance thing with this. And again, I don't begrudge anyone their genuine emotional reaction to art. But there's also been this little tete-a-tete online. And it's like, oh, I didn't like Nosferatu. And the comeback is, well, you don't understand Nosferatu. And like, fuck you.
Well, I mean, there's not much to understand. It's Dracula. Like people,
Dracula.
People seem to either ignore or I can't imagine they don't realize at this point that Nosferatu.
It's credited at the end of the movie. Again, it says it in writing. So I don't know what they didn't stay for it. I don't know.
It's not an original story. It is to get around Bram Stoker's widow's refusal to sell the rights to Dracula.
And as a result, like they went around it, and she took the filmmakers in the studio to court. They went bankrupt. She owned the rights to Nosferatu, and she ordered that every copy of the film be burned. And luckily, some people held on to it, and we still have the movie today as a result of, disobeying that court order. But also, I don't think people need to be aware of 100 years worth of cinema history in order to get into a movie. This movie either captures you or it doesn't. And I think that's the same of generally any movie. But there's no way on earth the reason people don't understand Nosferatu is because they don't get the Dracula timeline, or that they need to have this foreknowledge of all of this in order to enjoy what's on the screen. It either grabs you or it doesn't, but give me a fucking break, both sides of this.
Well, my only argument against that is the people, and again, this comes from, and I realize I've spent an inordinately large amount of time in the past year or so ragging on horror fans, right? Even though they are ostensibly my people. But I've seen a lot of people bitching about the mustache. And
fucking cares?
I don't understand what the big deal about the mustache is, but
he died with a big bushy mustache on. Yeah, like not everyone has to show up in the Max Shrek look. It's like,
yeah, it's different. It is different.
Yes.
But at the same time, you know, that is showing Robert Eggers, and I mentioned this in my newsletter review, which should be out before this comes out. He loves to, and I think it's another reason why I like him so much and such a unique filmmaker. He brings an eye for almost excruciating historical detail merged with the supernatural, which, and, you know, I think that it is not hard to understand or grasp that Count Orlock's mustache is in reference to the fact that Vlad the Impaler had a mustache. Right. And so in turn did Count Dracula in the book.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think people are generally so stuck on, oh, that's not what Nosferatu looks like, or that's not what Count Dracula looks like. But it's on the other hand, as we've said in the past about when people complain about remakes, you know, if he had done a 100% faithful adaptation or remake, or whatever you want to call it, I wouldn't call this a remake because he adds a lot of new elements to it and new characters and
yeah. A complete expansion of the base timeline of what that is. He's playing with every element. Right. He is making this his own.
Yeah, it's got a lot of, you know, one from column A, one from column B. It's a lot of homage to Francis Ford Coppola's version of Dracula.
Sure.
But yeah, there's going to be some authentic. Is he supposed to be Vlad the Impaler? I mean, I think probably. Yeah. But, you know, or certainly a Vlad-like character, and, you know, trying to make him look authentically, you know, what a Eastern European former count would look like. He'd probably have a mustache.
And ultimately, like, if the mustache is what's holding you back, there are so many other components of this characterization physically that are far more disruptive to your personal sense of safety that I don't know why you're getting hung up on mustache.
You literally see his penis. I mean, granted, it's not Bill Skarsgård's actual penis.
Right. It's a prosthetic penis.
It's a prosthetic penis, but it is a, you know, as best as I could tell, a human-looking penis.
Right. Yeah.
Which was jarring. It's like, oh, he was a person at one point.
Right. And I think this brings about, you know, what Eggers was trying to do with this, why he felt drawn to it. He's always loved the movie. He staged a version of this on stage in high school. That's how into this he is. And so he really wanted to evoke a certain type of vibe with this, an authenticity to certain things that make the inauthenticity of the supernatural elements pop even more. Again, that's not going to grab everybody. I don't know why we all have to be in consensus on a fucking movie. It either works for you or not. And for you and I have a feeling this worked rather well.
Yeah, I loved it.
My overall review is that every moment in this where no dialogue is spoken are the best moments in the movie. I feel that this is so dynamic as a quote unquote silent film. When people are emoting and giving their all to these hypernatural moments where things are just bigger than life and they can't be conveyed in dialogue. You just have to see them. They are wowing. They're fantastic. The second best moments are when Orlock, Von Franz, and Anna are speaking. They're the best performances in the movie for me. And my least favorite performances are Ellen and Friedrich. And I'll get more into that during spoilers because I can't really say why on the whole.
Wait, you mean Anna and Friedrich, the couple, the married couple?
No.
Oh, you didn't like Lily Rose Depp?
Listen, this is going to sound rude. When she is not talking, fucking fantastic. When she is, there are just moments where it just bounced me right out. And that might be a personal thing. Conversely, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who looks like a movie star, and when he's not talking, I buy it. But when he is, it sounds like he just got off a cell phone discussion. He's not locked in the way the rest of this cast is.
Yeah,
I would say Lily Rose Depp is trying her fucking heart out. And for the most part, a winning performance. There are moments where I just did not buy her. And then there are moments where I'm strapped in. I'm thumbs up, ready to go. It was a bounce back. It was a 80-20 for me on her.
Well,
These are minor gripes for what is a great movie.
To be fair, like my entire exposure to her as an actor has come by way of the movie Yoga Hosers.
Me, it's Tusk, so we're in the same boat.
And like the 10 or 15 seconds I have seen of The Idol, in which I was like, I don't need to watch anymore. This I need to boil my eyeballs. In which I understand her character is supposed to be kind of in a druggy stupor.
Yeah,
but like it was just not an engaging performance. So here I was kind of wowed. I'm like, okay, she is actually talented.
Yeah,
here I thought she was just a a very pretty thin young woman who could go from like ethereal to club kid and according to who's filming her.
This is to say there's room for growth. I mean, to put this on Maine, you sent me a very lovely gift of a Nicole Kidman, this 90s style tribute poster on a t-shirt. And if you look at Nicole Kidman and BMX Bandits, you're going, I'm not really sure this person has talent. So this is a slice in time. This is a minor gripe for what I think is overall a winning performance.
I mean, I think that her scenes in which she is completely losing it
are great.
And contorting, and that scene of her, like when she has like the one last big freak out in front of Thomas at the end when she's rolling her eyes back, and like that was I was like gripping my armrest. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. She's it's not like it's a lack of commitment. It's not like she's not trying. There are just moments that bounced from it. When she's doing dialogue with Emma Corrin, it felt like one person is playing tennis with their hand tied behind their back. It was a little weird for me. That being said, those are a couple moments in this. Aaron Taylor Johnson, I'll say it again, looks like a movie star. I don't think he should be in movies.
People keep trying to convince me that he's a good actor. He just needs the right material. And I'm like, I'm not sure I see it.
I don't know. I think Marvel really did the right thing. They killed him off real early, and that's where he should stay, dead. And the Bond franchise is in trouble if that's who's to say? We can like different things. Overall, like it's not a problem.
I agree with you that if we are rating the actors, he's on the lower end of engaging and believable in his performance. That I will. I don't know that it took me out of the whole movie though.
No, it never took me out of the whole movie. Nothing could dislodge me from this movie entirely. It is an incredibly rapturous experience in my estimation. I really enjoyed it visually and sonically, and I enjoyed the story, and I think the vast majority of these performances are knockout. I'm so on Nicholas Hoult, given whatever material he chooses to apply himself to.
Never saw a thing I didn't like him in.
And he is so committed in this. Again, he is playing the weenie, but I think this might be the most successful weenie of any weenie we've covered so far. He is great.
Yeah, no, he is essentially playing Jonathan Harker, driven by, I don't even want to call it is ambition, but
his best friend inherited a shipping port.
Yeah, there is, and again, I get into this in my newsletter review. There's an element of classism here that isn't in the original story, because again, Friedrich and Anna are new characters.
Yes.
They are basically supposed to be Arthur Holmwood and Lucy, where but they're already married, have a couple little kids, and she's pregnant.
Yeah, it's a different dynamic, but they're playing some of the same type of
element.
Role.
That element is there.
Yes,
and so there's a sort of subtle competition between Thomas, who is the basically the 19th century version of a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there was that subtle competition. He and Ellen are recently married.
Yeah.
And of course, because of, the way times were then, it was expected they were going to start having children soon. But, he, did not feel like he made enough money yet for them to do that. So even though she's pretty, emotionally fragile, he goes ahead and leaves her behind to go on this mysterious mission to meet this mysterious real estate buyer.
It plays out like Dracula. Like, it's not, I don't know that there is a way to spoil the movie if you've ever seen Dracula. Some of the details that change.
Yeah, it's essentially more how it all ends.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or skins, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skins uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
So with that being said, I think we're going to switch over to spoilers. So for those of you who don't care about such things, it's a great movie. We're not going to tell you anything that's going to make you dislike it. And if you want to pause it or re-download it after you've seen the flick, go for it. We'll now move into the spoiler section. So welcome, babies, to the Fruity Pebbles Castle of Torment, a scary castle with 100 rats.
100 rats.
Maybe a few more. Gina Radcliffe. Over the course of season 5, we've talked about lots of vampires and their main problem, which is not sunlight. It is not crosses. Their main problem is they suck at planning. And let me tell you, baby, Count Orlock is on team bad planners.
Yeah, well, in Orlock's defense, he's feeling a little something he hasn't felt in a long time.
He's sort of been awoken from a bit of a slumber because he's connected with a somnambulist who was reaching out for some sort of relief, and by the psychic hotline gets connected to him.
Yeah, I also think that this is, somebody said that if you liked The Witch, you'll like this. And I think that's very accurate because there's
more in common with The Witch than I think the man's only made 4 movies, but I was a little bit struck about how much of The Witch is kind of in here. Like The Witch was like a chance for him to play in the same sandbox, as it were.
Right. Like you've got like the concept of, being a good and virtuous person isn't going to save you.
Right.
The very seductive hold that darkness can have over someone. So, essentially you find out that she was praying as a teenager, I guess. She was desperately lonely, and I believe she mentioned her mother had died recently, and she's praying for companionship, some guidance, some sign that God's there, and the bitter irony, it opens up a pipeline to this infernal, immortal being, not the devil exactly, but certainly doing the devil's business.
Right. He's out there in them dark webs, looking for somebody. And then unfortunately she gets connected to the wrong guy, and then they're having psychic sex in the garden. Yeah,
which is illustrated by her having convulsions.
Yes, right.
The again to for his fantastic eye for detail, because it's plays into what I've been going into for the book I'm working on. Just the old school horrible remedies for women suffering from melancholy.
Yeah,
like you have Ralph Ineson playing a good guy again. Well, I mean, good intentioned.
Good intentions. I mean, again, everyone claims to be one thing and they have one diagnosis. This bitch has too much blood.
She has too much blood.
You gotta get rid of some of that blood. Where are you holding it? She weighs 88 pounds.
Right.
Where's she putting all this extra blood?
She weighs 88 pounds. You can almost see through her skin. She's like translucent. And this is even before Dracula starts take a little bit off the top.
Right, yeah.
But yeah,
but everyone is convinced she's got too much blood. Why does she have so much blood?
But the interesting thing is I don't know if you know anything about humorism.
Nothing.
Which is
other than SNL sketches.
Which is where, from an old method of diagnosing people according to bodily fluids, and to be diagnosed with too much blood, it means you have symptoms that today would look sort of like bipolar disorder, like mood swings, and it makes, I mean, I think it's meant to be a little bit of a joke, she's got too much blood, well, he'll take care of that. But it's also, it has some historical accuracy in it too. Yeah. So you've got these barbaric treatments like leeching, of course, and then making her sleep with a corset on, which I can't even imagine what that must be like, and then just plain old tying her to her bed.
And then one guy tie her to a bed
because while she's having these psychic orgasms, she might hurt herself. She might
hurt anyone else. Mainly, she's just so loud no one else in the house can sleep. And Aaron Taylor Johnson's like, I put in a full fucking day of barely doing anything.
He's very much doing what's all this then kind of
right. This is disruptive. I said you could stay at our place because we're like vacation friends, and now he goes off to get a document signed, and that's a 12-week fucking 6 weeks there, 6 weeks back journey. All you need to do is hang out, and you're just walking around the house in your sleep, screaming he's coming, like I'm trying to be coming. You know what I mean?
I am a pregnant wife. She needs sleep.
She needs sleep. I've got two girls who are constantly revving themselves up that there's a monster in a closet. I don't need you waking up at 2:30 in the morning yelling he's coming. Oh God. So Orlock, tale as old as time, meets a girl online. In this case, online is the psychic realm where she sleepwalks and chats with vampires while fucking ghosts are in the garden. And Orlock stacks his chips somehow after this. Is like, you know what? I need to connect with the real estate magnate, and I need to move out to the coast of Germany. Jealous?
Which they in a town in which no one seems to be familiar with the concept of sunlight.
Well, there's no sunlight to be found. This is the wildest thing. I'm not surprised, but the way this is shot, day looks like anyone else's night. And night looks like people are trapped in the void.
Oh yeah, like when I originally saw publicity photos of this movie before they had a trailer out, I thought it was in black and white.
Sure, yes, it is as close to black and white as it possibly can get. And of course, today they announced one of the 4K versions is going to have a black and white version. People are like, decide what your movie is. It's a version of the fucking movie. Stop complaining. No one is forcing you to buy the fucking 4K.
Yeah, I mean, also, do people have the same complaints about when Godzilla -1 and Fury Road, you put out black and white versions?
Oh, but now everyone's doing it, Gina, and that means it's stupid and there's no point to it. And it's like, no, these are movies, with the exception of Mad Max, these are movies that are connected to a black and white past and evoke that black and white past. So they're experiments. Again, You don't have to watch it. I can't have people constantly complaining about how physical media must remain and then complaining when anything in physical media makes their toes itch.
And no, just again, and I know that this is only going to get worse, as everybody tries to deal with the stress of current events and what lies. It just the finding the smallest thing to turn into a federal case is going to become how people deal with stress, and it's just like I'm just going to enjoy this movie and not jump into these discourses.
But people, discourse going to discourse, and people are going to find more and more things to Charlie Brown head hose about this movie as we go farther and farther along, because it did penetrate the culture, and for that, I'm very excited that something like this did so well.
Oh, it did tremendously, and now that he has quote unquote made it, because none of his movies have done particularly well financially. I mean, I think The Northman in particular was unfortunately.
But they've also said that The Northman, while it did not do well in theaters, it ended up being one of those movies that people caught and bought digital copies of in droves. It has become, over the course of time, a dad movie, a very violent dad movie. And I'm not surprised, because it's Conan the Barbarian with Vikings. Again, Edgar's is one of those guys who can subtly take his inspiration and find a way to make new inspiration from it. He's in conversation with the art, as we all are. But like all things, I feel like The Northman is only going to grow.
But this hit big right out of the gate, and I think that a lot of it, he switched to a different. He used to be an A24 guy. Now he is with
Focus Features, which is part of Universal,
right? And so I think again, like with Long Legs, it really benefited from an excellent advertising campaign.
Yeah, and plus it came at a time. We like Wicked was a big deal, and we've had Moana 2, and there's been a lot of family fare, and I think Gladiator was trying to counter program, and I just don't think despite how many dudes are in that movie, it never really caught fire, whereas this felt like, hey, I want to go to the movies and I want to see something adult. And you had two choices, this and Baby Girl. And Baby Girl is not a wider release. So it's just not going to do the same numbers as this. And I think people were looking for a little salty with all the sweet they've been getting.
Right. And also, it is a Christmas movie.
It is.
There is a scene prominently shot in front of a Christmas tree, so it is a Christmas movie.
Yeah, suck it, Die Hard.
I mean, if you're gonna,
new cause celeb in town.
If you're gonna, if your basis for that's a Christmas movie is it takes place at Christmas, then it's a Christmas movie.
There are candles in the background. Put something fun on the tree for me. I can't do that a ton. I'll be honest with you.
No.
I cannot handle it.
I just, man, what a. I saw someone describe Bill Skarsgård as the contemporary Man of a Thousand Faces, like Lon
it's
Chaney.
Possible, yes.
Yeah, and I'm just like, man, the range. I mean, I'm so glad that this did well, because he's had a bad year.
I mean, it's got to be tough for him. Obviously, he's never going to be the hottest in the family. So there's that. No matter how attractive he is, he just won't, because it turns out one of the family won the genetic lottery, and he has plenty to give. Make no mistake about it. But I will also say, I don't buy him as an action star. And being white trash rapper, The Crow, it was just no one was going to elevate that concept.
To me, he's got a Michael Shannon vibe, where he is not unattractive, but he's not traditionally attractive either. Like Alexander, he's traditionally attractive.
Yes.
He is the one that if I was any of his brothers, I would not want to bring a girlfriend home to meet.
Yes.
But what I thought was, but at the same time, I bought him as well. No, I think his being sort of associated with being a creepy guy served him well, and served the movie well in Barbarian.
Oh yeah, and Barbarian used him so masterfully. It's such a fun setup. I mean, that movie is kind of like a great gotcha throughout it, and it's so much fun to have no knowledge going into the movie, and their use of him is fantastic. But I think you're right. Like, he is one of the, we have a bunch of them who are like, I'm crazy skinny and I'll be a monster in your movie, and they have plenty of personality outside of them. They're big fan favorites. And I think he's one of those guys. It just turns out he can also do it without makeup. He just has to. He's never going to be a big action star. He doesn't need it. He can do a bunch of other things. And he's also funny.
Yeah.
Like, he's funny. So that puts him on a slightly different level. I think you get some name recognition, you get some momentum, and then like, okay, we're going to make you the main character here. And then I think he just kind of picks two rather cursed projects in a row.
I mean, nobody wanted to see a remake of The Crow. Nobody. They were threatening that they've been threatening that for over 15 years now. I don't blame it on him. I think that there was nobody could have saved that movie.
And it's also just been degraded. It's like I'm saying, I'm going to make a great Amityville horror movie. No one wants it. No one wants it. No one needs it. It's just been degraded.
No, I mean, it's every single one of the sequels was just ever diminishing returns with each one.
Truly.
And I'm like, well, what if we just tell the whole story over again, the original story over again, but slightly different? It's like no.
And what if he has face tattoos? Who cares?
What if we make him look like the Jared Leto Joker? No, absolutely not.
What if FKA Twigs is in it? I don't care. Release a new album. This isn't compelling. I'm sorry. No.
Yeah, no, I think the reason why the original Crow worked is because it was very of its time. And yes. it might be the most early 90s. I love it, but it might be one of the most early 90s movies ever made. And I think it's just
gritty. It is angst all over the place.
Right.
And it's also not trying to be reality. It is 1000% trying to be this, again, a movie that is black and white without being filmed in black and white.
Right.
And I just don't think it needs a new version of it. I have zero desire for it. And I don't want to know more about the Crow powers. Don't explain it more.
No.
I don't know what kind of vampire fucking Count Orlock is. No. And I don't care.
No, like I said, I mean, you get like hints that like, okay, he's like a Vlad the Impaler type. But then, you don't get, he doesn't have he's not I will say there are a lot of aspects of Bram Stoker's Dracula that he lifted for this. One of them was not making him a tragic villain. There's nothing tragic about him.
No, she met the wrong fucking guy as a teenager online, and he won't leave her alone. And then finally, she works her way into some level of distance when she gets cuffed up with this guy who's like kind of on the come up. And Orlock's like, easy work around. I'll send him on a 6-week journey to meet me in Transylvania. I'll make him sign divorce papers in a language no one reads. Is that going to hold up in court? What courtroom is Orlock walking into? Night court? Boom. But he's like, hey, you legally divorced your wife in the language you don't understand. I don't think a judge is going to go, oh no, you're totally fucking divorced. Why does he need to be divorced? Why does Orlock absolutely need this woman to consent to getting her blood sucked?
I do think that is a fascinating and puzzling aspect of this plot. Is that, rather than, playing some mind games with her or just, shape shifting into a shadow and creeping his way into her room. He's like, well, no, you have to want this.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
This is the whole lifestyle. You can't just put this on like makeup.
That he's a vampire requires consent.
Right.
But at the same time, like, he's not a romantic, anti-hero. He is.
Instead of bringing flowers, he says, every night this week, I'm going to kill somebody who you even kind of like. And by the end of it, you'll probably consent.
Like, I feel like that the twist should have been that Thomas, against, unbeknownst to himself, signed a divorce decree. That,
right.
Also, I think it's funny that he's very proper and she needs to be divorced before they can engage in their
meet her, and then you're just this side chick. This means something to me.
And then we need to go to marriage counseling.
Why don't we have one big coffin where the rats all crawl on top of both of us? Why do you need your own coffin?
We just need to make sure that we're fully compatible. Have you read the 5 love languages?
My love language is plague. I'm telling you, this is the thing about it that no one was anticipating, because you didn't really hear him so much in the trailer, and you make a discovery all in a big group of people, right? And it fires neurons. And then before you, like, no one's making great Gladiator 2 memes on TikTok, but plenty of people are making great memes of Nosferatu. That's when you know it's crawled into the fucking culture.
Yeah, totally. And also by the fact that there are, plenty of women who still find him sexy.
Well, that is the other thing. I do think there are women who sort of like the dark goth romance element of it.
Sure. I mean, the idea of being soul bounded to someone,
sure,
who's, as the saying goes, cross oceans of time to find you,
right?
It's very powerful, obviously. So enough that you might be willing to look past that. The person you're soul bonded to is, rotting.
Right, this walking, rotting corpse with a push broom mustache. Who this week is hopping on top of mushrooms and going down pipes to fight King Koopa or whatever the fuck. Like, it's a lot. But conversely, I think there's a lot of it that anyone who's maybe been into it and enmeshed in some sort of controlling relationship can lock into. Because here's this thing that she didn't really all she wanted was to find someone that would be her companion. And she ended up with the worst fucking companion of all time. And then she gets out of that relationship. And then he's like, I'm going to move into your hometown. I hope that's okay. I'm only bringing the plague with me. And like,
at least be friends. Come on.
I like your friend's house. It make me feel at home.
Why can't we just hang out every now and then?
You and I love silent movies. We go to the opera. Yeah, they got a lot in common. They both move by night. They can manipulate shadows or whatever the fuck. And as a result, like, she's not, when he's around, when he's in contact with her, she's not in control of her own body. Well, that's something that no one can relate to in the year of our Lord 2025.
Yeah, and we're going to be doing a Patreon episode on this, but I just watched Immaculate the other day, which is very overt and being a metaphor for current events, and so but also in this case, she is not in control of her body, but at the same time, she kind of doesn't mind it. And doesn't mind the sensations, but also feels very, as is often the case, unfortunately, particularly in women who are raised in very, religious, old-fashioned homes. She feels shame for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's the person who has unlocked things in her that no one else really had access to. And as a result, like, there's still this link that she's trying to shut off. She would love to shut that off. She would love to have her only link in that sense be to her husband. And her husband's like, I don't know, I got a new job. Bye.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, I have to turn down morning sex with my beautiful newlywed bride to go talk to my crazy boss.
my crazy Ebenezer Scrooge ass boss.
He's sort of that. He's sort of a little bit of a little bit of Albert Potato from Top Secret.
Sure.
I don't know why I thought that, but he just looked like the Potato Farm.
Yeah, he's got those vibes. Well, he's got the same haircut.
Yeah. I don't think he was an actual little person.
Yeah, Hair Knock, played by Simon McBurney.
Yeah,
I know I've seen 1,000 times, but I can't remember.
Hair Knock is Redfield, essentially.
Yeah, yes. He heads down that road. And so I don't really, my question, and I don't need this answer. I'm telling you right now, it doesn't bother me that I don't know. But did he go to college with Orlock? Like, how did those two hook up?
I think that is... it's never really explained how, other than Renfield went, was called there to do this, to initiate this real estate transaction. And then Jonathan was sent to finish to close the deal.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, looked up the Transylvanian Yellow Papers. Yellow Pages.
Who's a good guy in the real estate in Germany?
Put an ad in the Visborg Penny Saver. I need your shittiest looking mansion.
He went to a local tavern and there was a little flyer pinned to the wall. It says, "Are you looking to move to wonderful coastal Wiesburg, Germany? Tear off one of the slips
wonderful
at the bottom
coastal, 100% rat-free Wiesburg."
Listen, we are ready for black magic that you can bring to town.
475 days since last rat saying, "Oops, got to move that back down to 0."
Got to fit back to 0. So yeah, he's at the black man, because he's got a book of black magic under his fucking desk that they find later on. So anyway, anywho,
I mean, maybe with the book, you're supposed to infer that maybe he kind of connected to him to the same infernal pipeline that Ellen accidentally tapped into.
Yeah. It's quite possible. You can infer it. I don't need
it. Doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
It does.
I don't know that any vampire, any rendition of Dracula has actually explained how Renfield got to him first.
Yeah. So regardless, what I think this sets up better than most is that Orlock needs some really fresh blood to tap into before he makes a ship-bound trip to sunny at some other part in the year. Certainly not when he arrives, Germany. And so, Knock figures, let's 2 birds, 1 stone. Let's send this kid who also happens to be married to the one chicken town that Orlock wants to get with physically.
Well, I mean, I also, one thing I'm a little confused about is again, and this is not just Bram Stoker, Francis Ford Coppola's version of Dracula, but several renditions of just vampire movies in general. When Dracula or the vampire, his eyes fell onto a portrait or a picture of the Harker characters love, and as being like, oh, that's, she's the spitting image of the love of my life, or so it's sort of like, it's kind of like that, but also that they've already been sort of predestined to end up together one way or another.
Or at least he knows what his target is.
Yeah.
And this is a way to get to that. Again, he's getting everything that he wants here. He's getting him to sign divorce papers. He's getting fresh pints before hitting the box and taking a boat trip. And Nock gets what he wants, which is hopefully to get out of the vampire friend zone. But I'm sorry about that. That is not happening for you.
No, that's you just chomp on your pigeons and stay out of the way.
Just get attached to a chair that locks onto your head or whatever. I'm sorry that this drove you crazy. I'm sorry to that man.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
So then Hutter, Nicholas Hoult, takes this journey where he arrives in this day camp before he hits the castle, and everyone in town's like, oh, well, we got a live one, everyone. And they're all yelling at him in a language he doesn't fucking understand. And in the middle of the night, he sees a naked virgin get hopped on top of a horse, and then they go stab a corpse in the local cemetery.
Yeah, I'm not too well versed on folklore. I'm trying to figure out what is the naked virgin on the horse that does it lead them to where Dracula's grave is?
But I mean, that's a different vampire. They're stabbing a completely different corpse.
So probably one of his victims, presumably.
One of his victims they buried, and they're like, we got to come back in 3 fucking days and put a spike through that dude's heart.
I'm just trying to figure out where the naked virgin factors into it here.
It can't hurt. I think does it help? I'm not sure, but I don't. I would
think. Well, I mean, if you're talking in terms of would it lure a vampire out? Yeah, probably.
But yeah, it's a real rat trap. It's a chick who hasn't had sex naked on a white horse. That will attract vampires. It's like that blue glow that attracts. Well, I mean,
it probably, because several of the positive reviews I've read about it, you did say how he incorporated a lot of different kinds of folklore about vampires. So, I mean, it probably does have some, relevance somewhere.
Sure. It's not something I need an answer to.
It looks weird and creepy and otherworldly.
And Hutter knows, he's not in Kansas anymore. Whatever he thought this trip was going to be, it's not going to be that. And then everyone disappears the next morning. They're like, whatever's happening now can't be good. If Orlock's on the move, we don't want to be in his path.
I do like that in true romantic but mostly useless leading man fashion. He just pretty much ignores all harbingers of doom, like the old lady literally begging him not to continue the journey to Orlock's castle. He's just like, whatever.
Well, but also, he doesn't understand what the fuck she's saying. So it's not like he's listening to her in her native tongue and understanding every word. He doesn't get, we, the audience, know what the fuck she's saying, but he doesn't. She's just on a fucking monologue.
Yeah, but also when he is brought into the carriage, he's floating, Patrick.
Yeah.
He is hovering. Right. He like his feet leave the ground and he kind of hovers into that carriage. It just looks, a little confused.
Well, listen, a hobo doesn't question when they smell a pie cooling on the window, and they begin to float, right? Why should he? So I think it works out for everyone's benefit. He doesn't. I think he's just driven by, okay, this is weird. That's weird. We're being chased by wolves. This castle doesn't make sense. I can't actually see this guy. He's having me sign papers. I cut my thumb eating bread or an apple or whatever the fuck he's scrounged up. And he wakes up the next day by a fireplace, his chest covered in blood. And then you find your client sleeps in a tomb covered in maggots and rats for a blanket.
He's like, well, I gotta close this deal.
Real estate.
I gotta move.
This is what real estate is. This is why you don't go into it.
I gotta move this man closer to where I live.
Listen, I gotta get that bag of coins. I gotta bounce. My wife is waiting for me. What do you mean I'm divorced? And here's the deal. Like any other Dracula homage is going to have at least 3 hot chicks giving you, sucking your blood and giving you erections for 3 months, like in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Here, he's just locked up with angry wolves.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, Dracula just chomping down and sucking on his chest. I guess that's where the blood is the richest. He just takes it right out of your sternum.
Right, he taps straight into that main aorta, and it seems to work. He doesn't does he make new vampires? At least not intentionally. That's not his main course. It's like he sucks blood. He's into this for blood. He's not creating new vampires for fun. Like that, maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't, or he's allowing the local Romani to just take care of his leftovers.
Yeah, I think that's probably, I think he's just leaving it up to them. Well, they'll take care of it, they won't. And, although at the same time, it's, it's like if he doesn't make sure they're taken care of, then eventually there's not going to be anybody to feed off of anymore.
Right. That's the thing. Like he does kind of have to protect his power supply to a certain degree. And yet he has zero problems landing in Wiesburg in a ship full of plague rats. And this is not your average plague. People really don't last too long once they've been bitten by a rat.
No, it's the bubonic plague, basically, where you get the skin lesions and, you start coughing up blood and then you fall over and die.
Yeah. And so Hutter's only response here, he's kind of left to his own devices and he falls into a river. He's lucky is his deal. He falls into a river and a nun's like, hey, where'd that come from?
And they get to see him. They get rewarded for their service by seeing him without a shirt on.
Right. And so all this entire arduous process of weeks of fear and torment, and then you get what you think you want, and it turns out that you made a deal with the devil. This is what buying a house feels like. It's the most realistic subplot in this.
You have to sign paperwork in a language you don't understand.
Exactly.
And then somehow someone claims your wife in the middle of the night.
Exactly. And you feel like you're bleeding constantly. This is what home ownership is. I'm not saying renting is better. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I think anything that involves you signing away a chunk of your life is a bit like being bled by a vampire.
Yeah. And so, he ends up in the nunnery and they pray the vampire away. And at least, unlike Bram Stoker's Dracula, where he's like, come find me and then we can get married and maybe you can help me instead of me getting the cane. At least this guy makes his way back to Germany.
He is probably like, I am much more of I'm a Keanu Reeves in Bram Stoker Dracula apologist. I think that, he really got what kind of character Jonathan Harker was.
He is doing the assignment in that movie.
He is a well-meaning dud.
Yes.
And I think that this version is a little less of a dud. I think that he is, he is the light Orlock's darkness for Ellen. Yes. But unfortunately, darkness is more alluring.
And is working with a lot more power than he's got. You know, good for Hutter. But it turns out that his college pal, Friedrich, knows a guy, right? And so the guy he knows is Ralph Innocent. And if there's a year, which is the year of Ralph Innocent, at least for us, it has been 2024.
Yeah, playing another surprise good guy. When I heard that Ralph Innocent was in this, before I saw the cast, I'm like, oh, he's got to be Renfield, or the Renfield character. But no,
and it just turns out no, he's just kind of on it doctor.
He's Dr. He's Dr. Seward, basically,
right? And he's about as educated as anyone is, and unfortunately, his education does not expand to the supernatural. He also, like we've mentioned before, is big on let's get some blood out of you.
Right. Let's try having her sleep in a corset.
But it is weird that in the second movie this year, where he plays a non-villain who just happens to have the scariest voice in the movie. And yeah, so I bagged on Aaron Taylor Johnson before, so I don't need to get back into it. But I just he looks and sounds like a movie star, and it just has never worked for me. And he's fine. He doesn't ruin the movie or anything like that. I don't get it, right? He's the worst part of the Fall Guy. and it makes me angry because I love every other element of that movie, and he should be great in it. And the only thing great about it is he's such a good punching bag in the movie, but he's not dynamic. If you just took a frame of him, you're like, that guy belongs in Hollywood. And then when it's in motion and he talks, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, I noticed that I'm very, very excited about just, based solely on the trailer, which is always, a good way to not end up horrifically disappointed, about 28 years later. Right. And then I saw, he's the star. And I'm like,
it's
maybe if he just is a strong silent type, then maybe then it might work.
Yes, I'm not rooting against the guy.
It's just but he's also going up against like when earlier movies were Cillian Murphy and Robert Carlyle, it's like I just don't know.
Yeah, well, who's to say? I want to see the movie. Looking forward to seeing the movie. We'll be talking about the movie, but it does give me pause. He gets to kiss a corpse and then he dies. He's got a great mustache. He's got a ship full of plague rats landing in his port.
Very good hair.
He has very good hair and wonderful abs. And when a friend of mine, when I went back to Madison for the holidays and we were looking to do something, I'm like, well, if you want to torture yourself the way I like to torture myself, let's go see Kraven the Hunter together. Oh, no. And he came back with, there are no showings of Kraven the Hunter before 10 p.m. Like, that's not a good sign.
One theater here is my usual Alamo is still showing Kraven the Hunter, but it's literally like remember in Bachelor Party when they went to the Cinemaplex, yes, and like they opened up a door and like just the theater was like a janitor's closet. It's basically the janitor's closet theater. And this is that's also showing like The Brutalist, like the 3-hour-long Adrian Brody architect drama. That one's got one of the big theaters. Kraven the Hunter has the janitor's closet.
Well, that's drawing a crowd. That guy's a movie star. He's never appeared on television, and when no one asked him to, done a Jamaican accent. There we go. Aaron Taylor Johnson, when will be your banned from SNL moment? Who's to say? But before all this, he's just a real whiny baby about it all. Like, He's so put off by his wife's friend sleepwalking. Time to tie her to the bed already. And so,
on the other hand, I mean, you've had a small child at one point.
Yeah.
I've had a small child at one point. Certainly in a period where people didn't really understand, and she's not mentally ill, as it turns out.
No.
Everything she says is true. Everything she warns about happens. But at the same time, it's like, I got a wife and kids, man. I can't deal with this shit.
I work 4 hours a day at the port.
Is he being, a stuffy prig? Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, he's sort of like the voice of reason too.
Yes, it's not the plum roll.
It's not the fun. He's not the fun character. You want to be the fun character. You either be Count Orlock or you be I've already forgotten the Van Helsing character's name. It's Van something. Willem Dafoe's character.
I have it entirely written down. Professor Albin Eberhard von Franz. It just rolls off the tongue.
Right.
Gina.
You want to be the showy characters in a rendition of any Dracula story. You don't want to be the dud hero.
Yeah. And so he's like, he goes to Ralph Ineson's like, you got to do something. He's like, well, let's take a pint or two out of her and see if that helps. Well, it doesn't. Good news. I know a guy. And what a guy he knows. The setup for this is so fucking wild. I truly enjoy it. He's like, listen, he's a brilliant man. He's a learned physician. He's my mentor. He also got kicked out of academia for believing in witches and Bigfoot. So just know that going in.
He's also nutty as a fruitcake.
He just so happens to live in this cat-infested hovel that I haven't visited since he breezed into town. But let's take a coach and check him out. And that's when we meet Professor Albin Eberhard von Franz, played with panache
as usual
by Willem Dafoe, showing you all of his teeth. I don't think we talk enough about Willem Dafoe's ability to show you all the teeth he has in his mouth at all times.
I feel like the Lighthouse emphasize that talent more, but he does get to show it off here as well.
Yes, and Von Franz immediately pegs Ellen upon first meeting by that too much fucking blood. Everyone can see it. He sticks a needle through her wrist and is like, see? If she had a little less blood, this would hurt. And then he changes his diagnosis to terminal spooky bitch. We gotta figure out a way to make this chick a lot less spooky. And and when everyone else is like, I don't know, I'll grant you're very educated, very learned. But like, what evidence do you have beyond stabbing a chick in the wrist? And he's like, well, I've seen shit that will turn your hair white. And then this is probably a Nosferatu. And they're like, great. How do we get rid of a Nosferatu? He goes, I don't know. I've never met one. I've kind of read some things. I heard a guy at the bar told me about shit once. He is the most uneducated, learned man in this movie. He doesn't know shit until he finds a fucking book under the floorboards. He knows nothing.
Yeah,
it's accurate.
Van Helsing, the Van Helsing character is usually kind of a Basil exposition where he explains to the other characters and thus the audience what a vampire actually is.
Exactly.
But like here, he's just like, but I just know he's bad.
Listen, whatever's happening here can't be good. We'll just continually leak some blood out of her, let her wander around unencumbered, and I'm sure we'll come to a conclusion sooner or later. And then a plague ship hits the port, and you're basically in a zombie movie combined with a vampire movie because so many people are dying around them. And for whatever reason, they don't get bit until Orlock shows up in a bedroom, No.
No.
And this has the most bleak beach scenes I've ever seen in my life. If you like, I don't know if I'm a beach person, this movie will not cure you. Everything about it is the worst beach of all time.
Yeah, well, this is one of this sequence where like the rats show up. Have you seen the original Nosferatu?
Yeah, yes. I actually own a copy, and I watched it before I left. And you can obviously see many of the connections.
Oh yeah, and I think, and what I was going to say was, I think this sequence to me is most evocative of that specific version, where you've just got the very, very eerie, just death is on the way, and the entire town is just being very quickly decimated. And of course, obviously, what we experienced over the past 4 years makes that an even more chilling moment.
Yeah, and so obviously we've talked a lot about the sort of vampires as plague bearers, as bad boyfriends, as these outsiders coming in and wrecking things. And I would say this is the one that leans the least on the sort of xenophobia angle of it. The dread is of death. It's not really of, we can't let outsiders in. He's coming.
Right.
He's coming to hook up with his chick.
It's a fear of disease. It is a sort of general fear of sexuality, but not the sexuality that he represents, but rather the fact that Ellen is in her fits, for lack of a better word, is very overtly, even crudely sexual.
Yeah.
And makes Thomas question his masculinity, essentially. So, and can't have that. And his one failing is he's going to show her how masculine he is.
Yeah.
And it's an uncomfortable scene, not just because he's raping her, basically, but up to this point, he'd been a pretty decent guy and a relatively and a good-hearted, well-meaning person. And now now here's his fall from grace.
Yes, I think once he accepts the money, it shows a vulnerability. Once he wants the money, it's the vulnerability. Once he's given the money, it's a
his failing is he is too concerned with appearances.
Right. And so rather than be concerned with the actual physical, mental health of his wife, he's like, well, if you need to fuck your way out of this situation, I guess I'll help. And it doesn't. So that was fucking useless. And I think it's the thing that Professor Von Franz sort of counts on, because let's be frank. Let's be Frank Albin Eberhard von Franz. His goal is to sort of pump up this guy into killing a vampire who's not going to be home because he's cuckolding you in your bedroom.
Right.
So, like, his ultimate plan is, I don't know how to kill him, but if you sex him so good that he doesn't know how close it is to sunrise, we got a chance.
I have to admit, and I don't know if it was even more uncomfortable for you because I believe you said you saw it with your in-laws. When he kind of starts moving downward, I'm like, are we going to be getting vampire lady cunnilingus here, Robert? but he does stop at her chest. So
yes. Well, yeah. You stop. He stays. That's the thing. And also, he built different. He looks. Ollie never got into Adventure Time, but his full body kind of looks like the dog in Adventure Time, in that he's kind of a potato with noodles hanging out on it for limbs. And I laughed in genuine happy surprise when his eventual corpse shows up, and he's got a pug body.
He's got a little pancake butt because he's like rapidly decaying because he's really good and dead now. Whereas he was just in a state of slow decay.
Yes. And he got that good blood.
He was starting to kind of, come back a little bit.
Right.
And then, she tricked him and then all of a sudden it was just, rapid decomposition. I mean, who's among us haven't felt like that?
I think her secret weapon, because it happens 3 times, so it must mean something, right? Is when her husband leaves her and she's like, no, come back to bed. That's one. And then she asked him to have sex with him. She said, you could never love me as good as he did. 2. And then 3, in bed with Orlock. And he's like, baby, it's time to bounce because that moon's getting real low. And she's like, I don't know, we could have more sex. And he's like, you're right. And
oh, all right.
It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes.
I guess I can stick around for a little afternoon delight.
Afternoon for me is about 4 p.m. Sky rockets in flight.
Pew!
I'm not going to be able to talk later tonight. But he's like, what happened to you? I did the Orlock voice with the starlight.
Please, baby, fix me a cup of tea. Maybe a lozenge.
I need something to soothe my pipes.
It's pretty good, though.
It's not bad. Like I told you, I've been working up to this. I knew it would be. There's no way I couldn't do this voice. I don't do accents well. I can do some voices, and this falls into the thing that I can do. So, will Orlock show up again? I'm not sure. I'm sure I've done other voices on the show, but I cannot remember.
I don't know if he's going to become like Dino De Laurentiis status, but I'm sure you can find another excuse to bring him back out sometime.
When the Transylvanian die, everybody cries.
When the Nosferatu dies, everybody cries.
Where's the big monkey with the very skinny legs? So it's a great movie. It's a good
I do. I try not to be one of those. See it on the big screen if you can, but you should try to see this on the big screen.
I think he is trying to make event cinema here.
Yeah,
this is a movie, right? And you want to hear that sound. You want that on a big ass bright wall in a dark place. Hopefully, no one is scrolling on Instagram in the middle of it. But I can't help that. I'm sorry. I'm going to go off on this rant. This isn't your living room. We're going to church. Put your fucking phone.
Oh, I'm so spoiled. I mean, I know that Alamo as a corporation has a lot of issues, but I won't go anywhere else because I like the picking out your own seats. And I very much like the no talking or texting rule.
This episode brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can get a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help find you options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Yeah. It makes sense. And, someone online, it was a thread that went well for me. Like I give a fuck. Because honestly, getting much better reaction of the show on Blue Sky. I think Blue Sky is where it's at, y'all. But in the past 3 or 4 months, we've been getting a newer influx of interaction with the show, and thank you all for doing that. It makes us feel great, like we're penetrating, like we're something you're not just passively listening, but activating you to listen to. So please talk to us. We always like it. That being said, he's like, well, you can see a movie anytime. Go at 10 a.m. Like, I mean, I work from home, so I can, but I shouldn't be forced to pay money to go to a movie at 10 a.m. to avoid someone who treats it like their living room. I'm paying money. If I'm paying that much fucking money, it's not just about popcorn production. Get somebody to count some fucking seats and recognize who has their fucking cell phone out. Why did they care about us not stealing a car in the 90s? Why would you steal a DVD or whatever the fuck?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. And I feel like, everybody has just, really dropped any sort of expectations for anything involving how to be a person in society anymore. And it's just very, to me, my equivalent is people who on public transportation listen to music or watch videos without headphones. And it happens. It's everywhere. It's every day. It is everywhere. Like nobody wears headphones anymore. And I don't understand why. And I just like, would you want to be like, would you want me to be sitting next to me listening to whatever, being forced to listen to whatever shit I'm listening to?
Yeah. I don't get it.
How we just at some point collectively decided, that's all right. What's the big deal?
It's one thing.
It's rude. That's what the big deal
is.
It's
so rude. It's so fucking
You're
weird.
encroaching on other people.
Headphones have never been more fucking plentiful. Headphone technology at an all-time high. Why do you have this device and you're not listening to it with fucking headphones on? It's so fucking weird. Why pay for the Billie Eilish concert and throw a water bottle at her? What is the fucking problem here?
And then the attitude is, I paid to be here. Yeah, so did I. So did like the other, several hundred people here.
Right. Like we didn't pay to scroll Instagram. We paid to watch the bright movie being shown on that one shiny reflective surface in this dark room.
Movies are too fucking expensive to just come and then just fart around your phone for 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, someone else is like, come to Alamo. I'm like, I would fucking love to. There's one in Los Angeles.
That's wild to me. We have 3 here.
Well, they opened it and then they went bankrupt, and now Sony owns them, and who knows if they'll ever open anymore. I'm not sure why Sony purchased them. I'm a little confused on that particular part. I mean, I love that they're an ongoing concern and want them to continue, but I also don't understand what advantage it has for Sony. It's weird, but I guess it's better than some VC firm that would just own the property they're on and then make them pay rent. And then how
can we incorporate this into an app?
I don't know. It's so weird, and it's only going to get weirder. But the weirdest part, Gina, is when you choose your own deathventure, and that is where we decide of the deaths in this movie. If you were forced to die in one of those ways, which one would it be and why? And honestly, they're going to kind of come in a couple different varieties, but not a ton. You got vampire bite and then spike through the heart. Plague plus blood loss on a boat. Plague plus blood loss on land. Kiss your plague wife and keel over immediately. Blood loss from sex and so good, that man has no sense of time. And then sex so good, you can't track the moon.
The kids were just bitten, right?
They were just bitten, but no one really knows that they were just bitten because after he bites them, they get bitten by plague rats. So
yeah, that's true. So they probably already are plagued. But how did how did Knock die?
How does Knock? This is a good question. How does Knock die? I think, doesn't Nosferatu just bleed him?
Possibly.
Why am I calling him Nosferatu? The man has a Christian name, Count Orlock.
I don't think he'd refer to it as a Christian name, but
show some respect.
I mean, obviously, dying in the middle of sex being so good, et cetera, et cetera. That sounds appealing.
Yeah,
it's probably better that your partner dies too, so they don't have to live with.
I mean, you're getting it here. You're both often pretty much at the same time. She's got blood loss, and he all his vital fluids were squeezed out.
Yeah, my vital juices.
My vital juices. Do we get a t-shirt in the shop? We didn't really have any new t-shirts for 2024. So if we're gonna do it, do we have my vital juices exclamation point in the shop?
In the Nosferatu font.
In the Nosferatu font.
Yeah,
Josh, get on it.
I think that either just bleeding out in the middle of sex so good I don't notice, or just letting the sun shrivel me up like a raisin. Either of those would be okay.
Yeah, it's better. I don't want to die by blood.
No.
That sounds like a bad fucking thing.
You also look too good. You got like the sores and all. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't look fun. It really doesn't look fun. The people who are really making bank in this are the guys who are hauling caskets.
Oh yeah. You were like a casket maker back then, man.
Business be booming.
I was gonna say you're lucky day, unless you get the plague too.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Like the whole joint gets the plague. And the movie does nothing to solve that. They're just like, some places get the plague.
Yeah, I mean, she
I know who killed me. Some people just lose fingers. Some people bleed.
Von Franz is like, if you kill Orlock, the plague will go away. And it's like, yeah, but most of the town is already dead.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
There's like 30 people there in the first place, so it took him probably about a day to decimate it.
Yeah, he's a doctor. He's not a miracle worker. All he can do is light some shit on fire and cackle. I did it, baby.
Oh, man. Love it. Love it. Can do no wrong. Can do no wrong.
It was wonderful. I loved that it was smart and stupid. I love all the shadow work that is done.
Yeah, I wish that they had not shown the shot of the shadow of Orlock's hand traveling over the city. I wish they hadn't shown that in the trailer, because while it still looked great on the big screen, I would have liked to have been surprised by that shot.
Yeah, I can see that. But it's it's a bigger studio. I think they were trying to show the scope of it, and whatever they did, it fucking worked. So, it's a big thumbs up for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was not disappointed.
Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about movies and television, including by the time this goes live, I'll have written about Nosferatu on my newsletter, GinaWatchesThings.substack.com, and I am pretty active on Blue Sky under Gina Does Things.
Do it today, people. Check it out. Join us over on Patreon, where we give you bonus episodes. We're going to be talking Immaculate this month as our bonus episode. We've also got Chat by Chat and movie commentaries. We're on your socials, mostly on Blue Sky. We're also on Letterboxd. Keep talking to us about these episodes. We love to hear more and more people these days. It's been a joy. But that just about does it. But don't worry, folks. The body count will continue. For myself and for Gina. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.